Hi everybody, welcome back. And if this is your first time here, just welcome. We are in a 2018 Chevrolet Equinox SUV thing with 53,801 miles on it. And the customer states it runs rough and stalls, and it drives poorly and seems to misfire. This particular Equinox is powered by a 1.5 liter turbocharged miniature little motor. So we're going to pull up for some trouble codes and see if we don't have any direction we can go in towards solving their problem. It does not have a check engine light on, so there may or may not be any codes here. Oh, we do have one. Crankshaft position sensor. Oh, exhaust camshaft position sensor not plausible. P0017. Okay. Now that's stated as a history DTC, meaning the conditions that caused this code to set are no longer present, but that's not going to stop us now, is it? First things first is I'm going to operate this vehicle, first in the parking lot and then on public motorways, because I would like to recreate the conditions that they were describing, just so I can get a feel for what's going on here. Additionally, the customer also mentioned that they had these trouble codes pulled from like the parts store, AutoZone, or another shop, and they had been prepped to replace the timing sprockets and the timing gear set. At 53,000 miles, I would find that kind of unlikely, but you never know. All right, getting out on the road here, I definitely can feel the anemia of this 1.5 liter engine. This thing is very, very small. It appears to be running okay at this time, but I'm hoping once it reaches operating temperature, the fault will start to present itself. Okay, I do feel a bit of instability on acceleration. It appears to be kind of surging, and the power band is not smooth, so I do believe the fault is presenting itself right now. It has not given a check engine light or any kind of flashing warning illuminators just yet, but I am feeling what the customer was describing. If this vehicle were a 2.4 liter four-cylinder, I would immediately recommend replacing the intake and exhaust camshaft actuator solenoids. I actually have a video that I just released on that specific subject. You can find the link for that down in the description below. However, that may not be the case with this particular engine, because this is a completely different powertrain, and I don't believe it shares the same faulty actuator solenoids. That's not to say that the actuator system in this one is not the cause, but I don't know or feel from experience that that is definitely the cause. So I actually am going to have to get a little deep into this just to verify that we indeed do have a variable valve timing control problem with this vehicle. If oil level is low or the quality is degraded, that has a negative impact on the system's ability to control VVT's function. So let's pop in the hood and check the oil first. Powering down. Shifting to park. Getting ahead of myself. Oh, look at that cute little baby four-banger. There appears to be a lot of insulation here to keep things quiet. Okay, before we do anything and try to diagnose anything, let's check in the dip and stick. And I can't tell. Let's give it a good wipe here. Okay, we are at least a quart low. The mark is at the bottom of the low line, so that's an issue here. That's an issue because the VVT sprockets on the camshaft can't run off of the actuator if there's no oil to supply to the sprockets. And if an actuator is commanded and it does not see that the camshaft position has changed, it's going to set a code for correlation between cam and crankshaft positions, which is what we have going on here. So before I can move anywhere, we need to fill this with the proper amount of engine oil. So out of curiosity, I went ahead and started the engine, and I pulled up the menu for the oil life monitor, and according to this thing has 78% engine oil life left over. I find that odd, considering that there is no oil change sticker, and the condition of that oil was black and dirty and over a quart low. So something's going on here that's a little odd. Maybe somebody just reset this by mistake, or maybe they had their oil changed and nobody actually changed it and they just reset the monitor. It's tough to say, I can only speculate. However, first things first, I need to ensure that this thing has good, clean oil installed in the engine to make sure it's full, and then I can properly attempt to diagnose this particular system. But before we jump the gun on replacing timing components, I'd like to at least try to diagnose what the issue is with this before we start digging into a 50,000 mile old engine. As most of you may have gathered by now, I don't put my seatbelt on. Click it or ticket. As most of you would have gathered by now, I do not usually go with somebody's off-the-shelf diagnostic when they walk in. Even if what somebody else told a person was accurate, I still have to diagnose that myself, because I can't blindly just dive into a repair without verifying that repair is actually necessary. So that's what we're gonna do today. Okay, seeing as how we discovered a low/no oil condition, I'm reluctant to believe that this needs any timing sprockets or valve timing solenoids. It probably just needs the proper amount of engine oil. What I'm going to do is put some cleaner in this and run it for a little while, and then replace the oil and filter, and we'll go back out on another test drive to determine if we have solved the issue. Okay, the cleaner is in the crankcase. I'm going to start this and let it run for 5 to 10 minutes. And what that's going to do is it's going to circulate the cleaner throughout the oil system, break down any buildup or varnish or anything that could potentially be clogging oil passages. I don't think that's the case, but that's the direction we're going to go before I start to even suspect that we have hard parts that have failed here. Now, seeing as how oil changes aren't particularly entertaining, I'm just going to skip over that part. All right, we've had a good 10-15 minutes of run time with this oil cleaner in there. I'm going to shut this down, spill and fill it, and change the filter. Okay, down below, I'm finishing up this oil change. I just wanted to get a quick shot of it just to prove that I in fact did change the engine lubricant. It's nearly done draining. You can see the last of it coming out right now. And since I had a cleaner in here, I let this thing drain for about 15 more minutes. Now it's time to get this plug back in without saturating myself. And then we'll fill it back up and take it on the road again and see if that chugging poor performance issue that it had has subsided. Click. All right, let's get out of here. This thing calls for 0 Winter 20 fully synthesized engine lubricant, and that is what I'm installing. Glug glug. See what we got. Right on the full mark. Beautimus. Okay, let's hit the road and see how this thing behaves. I understand that the engine cover and foam insulation are still off of this vehicle. This is not a finalized operation, but I see no need to put that stuff back on just for a test drive. Okay, I've also gone ahead and cleared the trouble code out of this thing, and we're going to let this hang out here to monitor everything, and we will see if that code is going to re-present itself during our test drive. I hope this fixes it. It's going to be very nice to save a guy a couple $100 and then wreck his car. Whoa, guy. Anyway, as I was saying, it'll be nice to save this dude a couple $100, potentially a couple $1,000. Like I mentioned earlier, he had been prepped by someone else and or the internet to replace camshaft phasers, which are the sprockets on the camshafts themselves, which can be a cause of the code that he got and the symptoms he described. But like I stated earlier, if the phasers can't operate, then they cannot accurately control valve timing, and again, that will set the cam crank correlation code that we saw earlier. Okay, as we go, I'm gonna roll into a full throttle condition. Just to ensure that camshaft timing actuation does take place. That's wide open, we're good. And that was a very smooth acceleration. I don't want to jump the gun, but I do believe I may have solved the problem with just an oil change. Let's slow it down some and do one more wide open throttle pull from a rolling start. We're 35 miles per hour. Let's do it. Here's the downshift and there's wide open throttle. Very smooth. Okay. Well, as of now, it is operating as designed. See, this is one of those situations where it really does pay to diagnose a problem. Had this guy chosen to just kind of go with the trouble code definitions or the most common faulty components or the other person's off the cuff recommendation, they would have found themselves on the hook for $1,200 to $1,500 in timing components. You have to verify that the system in fact was producing a fault, and then you have to check that all of the supporting systems like engine oil are present and within specifications in order to support other systems. Simply put, an oil operated system can't operate properly with no oil. It makes me wonder how many timing sets and VVT solenoids have been changed over the years just because nobody checked the engine oil level. Regardless, I'm kind of rambling at this point and I should probably refocus back to the subject at hand. Seeing as how this test drive went off without a hitch and I have not seen an indicator of a problem, I also do not have any trouble codes that are showing up. My strategy at this point is going to be to bring this back to the shop and park it for a couple hours, and I'll do one more test drive after a cold start. I'll let everything cool off, and I'll do one more test drive on a cold start, let it come back up to operating temperature, and I'll park it again, shut it down for about 5 minutes, and then I'll do a third and final test drive to just to verify that the symptoms have subsided. But at this point, I'm about 98% confident that the problem has been solved simply by putting known good and a full amount of oil in the engine. All that being said, since I do believe that this repair is complete, I'm gonna go ahead and close this video out right now. Again, and as always, thank you guys for watching. And before I go, I have to remind myself to not forget to remind you guys to not forget to have a great day. So everybody here, don't forget, have yourselves a great day. See you later. Equinox powering down. Pew!